I had high hopes coming in here. Love Brands Hatch. It's one of my better events. As an example, over the past years, I've had 19 wins at Brands Hatch. I've had none at Knock Hill. So leaving Knock Hill, having been fastest in 2 of the sessions and qualifying on at 4th, which was my best qualifying of the year, I thought that showed great promise coming back to Brands. So I've had free practice 1 and 2 today here at Brands Hatch. Hasn't gone very well. We had settings that were probably more suited to where we were last at Knock Hill, but because we had a wet Sunday race day, we didn't really finish the circle of changes, so we weren't sure if the direction we were going was correct or true or not. So we kind of entered this event here with a bit of a mixture of what we know, like with gearing and so on, that we have to run here, and then also with a combination of ideas we had after the end of Knock Hill, and it doesn't seem to be working. So I was P13 in FP1 and then again in FP2. So I have to go through qualifying 1 tomorrow to make it into qualifying 2 to hopefully get a decent position on the grid. So we're making some changes to put the bike probably more back to how it was prior to Knock Hill. I've had not really any standout complaints with the front of the bike this year. It's mostly been focused on my problems with the rear, whereas the 2 practices we've had today here, I've been just purely focused on problems I have with the front. So I think the changes we've made with the front of the bike at Knock Hill are proven to be a bad direction, and we're just going to have to go sort of back to where we were prior to Knock Hill and see if that recovers some of that front end feel, and then we'll move on from there. We moved into today's practice 3, made further changes again. It was very difficult to see any progress because the tyre allocation meant that because I unfortunately had to start out of Q1 and progress into Q2, I didn't have the luxury of using any good tyres that we had left for the final 3rd practice. So we sort of kind of just went on instincts about how the bike was performing.
2 times.
Unfortunately, we'd made some progress because I went out in qualifying 1 on a used tyre and was fastest initially. But with the end of the session getting quite tight and maybe the chance I might drop out of that top 3 position, I was forced to go and put my new tyre in the bike to get through from qualifying 1 into qualifying 2. That meant that I then rode in qualifying 2, having graduated through on a used tyre already. So I repeated my best lap time, which I was happy with. To go out and do a lap time on a tyre, come into the pits, wait a period of time, and then go back out and repeat the same lap time was actually a good sign of improvements we've made with the bike. But still, the facts are we're only 10th. So probably made the best of a bad situation. But moved ourselves up to 10th position. To the chat show part of the day. Hopefully you're enjoying the VIP hospitality experience. We'll just give you a rundown of how the weekend's been going for us. I'll start off. I've normally got to wait for Lee to come and arrive after getting a massage or something, or just being late, but he was here before me today, so that makes a change. So we arrived here with some stuff still underlying that needed to be resolved, and we set out on the opening practice, and the bike didn't really perform very well, so we had to sort of ignore anything that we'd begun and to work on at Knock Hill and just focus purely on what we had happening here this weekend. Made some improvements in the second practice, but still a long way from where I would feel confident well, happy with my performance, let's say. We'll certainly be trying hard this afternoon to not only impress you guys here, but do the team proud and get the best results for ourselves possible. But before we do go away to final preparations for the race, has anyone got any questions here that they would like to ask that we can answer? It doesn't have to be about Brands Hatch or today or the racing. It can be about anything to do with the team or us riders, anything at all that you... How do we reset after a bad injury or a bad session? How do we, clear our minds and get back into it? I feel like for me, it's just something I've become accustomed to. You know, when you start out as a kid, like I've been racing bikes since I was 5. So it's something I've grown up with my whole life, and probably didn't deal with it very well when I was young, and probably figured out a way as I got older how to deal with it. But I think it's probably natural, whether it be in sports or high-level business. There's always going to be setbacks, things that you weren't predicting, things that are unexpected, things that are really disappointing, disheartening, and really hit hard. And you've got to be able to be resilient and find logic. You know, don't operate off emotions. Operate off a clear mind, and try and separate the reality from the feeling, and go, okay, this is what's happened, this is how we've got to deal with it, and this is what we need to do to move past it, and just think very like robotic and logical to try and move forward. Questions from the floor? Clarissa, you were yelling out something earlier. I didn't quite catch it. Was that a question? Oh, do I like cricket? No. Oh, okay. Sorry. No, I'm purely fixed on motorcycles. Often when England versus Australia and everything, whether it be cricket, football, tennis, well, I don't know. Anytime there's something up, I'm always challenged with that Australia versus England comment. And honestly, I don't even know that some of these sporting events are taking place. So I've kind of got this glazed look of like, who, what? And then sometimes, just to be funny, like I'll mention the wrong sport, like, you know, the football will be on or the cricket will be on, and I'll mention a tennis player. So to really, as a joke, you know, direct the question away to something else. But yeah, okay. Well, it seems like unless there's anything else, we might have wrapped up the questions. We will hang around for a few minutes if you want to get a photo or something signed. But yeah, please cheer us on whilst we're out there. We're certainly trying hard. We might not necessarily hear you unless you're at full vocal capacity, but I'll certainly feel the atmosphere with everybody cheering us on. So yeah, thank you for being part of the hospitality, and we'll do our best. Thank you. How's that?
Thank you very much.
You're very welcome. Thank you. Yeah, definitely looking for more out of the race. I don't know what to expect. I feel like we've been playing behind the 8 ball so much throughout practice. I don't really know what to expect for race pace during the race. So right now I'm kind of, a little bit sort of optimistic about the race because of the improvements we've made, but also realistic that it might be a challenge.
Conditions are going to be dry.
It was mostly dry around on the site mud, and now with the sun out and the track temperature is being warmer, it's a given that we'll be on flexible dry track around. But there might be the odd patch to avoid on the opening laps when it's front and forced to go wide, but other than that, it should be a pretty straightforward race, weather conditions wise. But yeah, as you mentioned, it'll be hard work from here.
constant flow of air would keep that cool enough that that would happen.
I think it's when you come in Park Fermi and stuff.
Oh, it's not whilst the riding.
No.
Just really short. And you don't have to be.
So on the front of the bike, you'll see what looks like two radiators. So the upper one is actually the radiator cooling the water, and the lower one is the oil cooler cooling the oil. And on the race bike, we have them separated because the optimum temperature for water is about 85 degrees, and the optimum temperature for performance for the oil is about 120 degrees. So on a street bike, often the water system is cooling the oil, but then what you have is the oil raising the water temperature too high, or you have the water temperature lowering the oil temperature too low. So on a road bike situation, it's not critical to have the optimum performance. So that's okay. But for racing, to get the best engine performance, we want the oil temperature a lot higher than the water temperature. So they need to be independent from each other. And this is how we do it. To improve the bike and continue improving, you've got to ride 100% every time we're out on track. You can't just ride around and wait for the bike to improve. You've got to be at 100% every time, so the mechanics and the data is all accurate and up to date. And in doing that, I crashed this morning in morning warm up. It was on the exit of turn 1, big high side. Last thing I want to do before two difficult races coming up today, but in trying to constantly push the edge and the limit and refine the package, I fell off. But fortunately, I'm not too badly injured, just a couple of bumps and bruises, which is actually really good considering it's a high side at turn 1. And then also, luckily, the bike just sort of slid. It didn't do any of those tumbles. It just sort of slid up the track, luckily, and it was easily repaired for the race earlier today.
Josh Brookes. Josh, welcome to the stage. It's great to see you, mate. Please tell us about the weekend so far.
Everything's been a bit of a challenge. We're having a great weekend at Knock Hill, but then the Sunday with the rain and everything, everything just seemed to fall apart for us. It feels okay to me, but it's not fast enough to match the front lap times. It feels like this year, particularly the Hondas are struggling more. I kind of had a high expectation of results after what Tommy Bridewell was doing on the Honda last year. But through various changes that have happened with the tyre and different things, even Tommy's struggling to, after a year on the bike, you think things are always going to improve. And it's like as if he's taken a step back and, like anyone that's on a Honda at the moment, I listen to, comments from Fraser Rogers. He's like, I'm riding better this year than I had last year, and yet I'm not going as quick. So the Honda seems to have, struggled a little bit more this year than anyone had expected and anticipated. So every round for us, particularly, we're arriving with a new bike. It's not something we've ridden on before at that track before. We've got no previous data. So, and at the moment, British Superbikes is so tight, you can't afford to give away a tenth, let alone, multiple tenths like we are at the moment. So it's just a difficult period that we're in, and we just got to grin and bear it and face it and push on. And you know, every time I get on the bike, you've got to ride 100% to give the feedback back to the guys. That's value. You know, if you ride, you know, 10% off, the bike's not, you know, going through the same forces and processes that it would when you're in a race. So every time we're out in the track, we've got to give 100%. And this morning I high-sided at the exit of turn 1, and you know, obviously that's not an ideal thing to do in any case. But you know, the bike wasn't badly damaged. I'm a bit bumped and bruised, but nothing serious. So I feel like, you know, I've got away with that quite luckily, and was able to, you know, do that race there. Yeah,
Always a pleasure.
pleasure. Thank you guys. Cheers. Yeah, nice. Hello everyone. Good afternoon. Welcome to the VIP DAO hospitality. Hopefully you've all been well fed and catered for. There's a small improvement. The last 2 races I've started off row 4. My lap times from the last race we just finished was enough to put me up into row 3. So small improvement, but any improvement is a good one, especially in the starting order. So yeah, that's where I'm at. Really kind of eager to get going in this next race. Obviously the weather's changed again, but I think this will be much the same as yesterday. The weather will pass and we'll end up with dry racing again by the time we get out there. But Lee always gives me a lot of stick because I do too much talking and he wants to talk a lot more. So I do apologise, and I'll pass you over to Lee and let him have some words. I feel like, you know, I've got another opportunity this afternoon to try and do something better than the previous races. I'm starting off the 3rd row. It's a small improvement, but the 3rd row is better than the 4th row. I'll try and get a good start, try and get away with the leaders, and see what we can do from there. Obviously, the team are constantly working and evaluating to try and make little changes. We can't do anything big that's going to really like transform the bike, but we can always work on small improvements, and hopefully that's something I can take into the race and find better results. So that's sort of where we stand.
Yeah, it'll be hard to enjoy the first few laps. It'll be treacherous. It looks like there's a lot of damp around the course and, you know, narrow drying line. So, you know, as we speak, it's drying quickly, but definitely for the first few laps there'll be some jostling for that driest position.
It's been super challenging. Really excited to come to Brands Hatch. Came here with good excitement and got started working on the bike and the setup, but we just didn't really find the pace to run near the front. Persevered and made some progress, but just small steps forward. And then this morning in morning warm up had a big crash trying to you know, push the limits of the bike and keep the development coming. So that was a bit of a disappointment, but fortunately the bike wasn't too badly damaged and I was okay. So we got out in both races today, and yeah, the results were not what we're in search of, but yeah, sometimes you have days like this where you've just got to consolidate, take what you can, learn as much as possible, and move on to the next event.